You're listening to Real Estate Radio Fresno on News Talk 580 KMJ. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert, Craig Barton.
Good morning, Central Valley. I am your host, Craig Barton. Welcome to the Real Estate Radio Network, the most important hour of radio each week here on News Talk 580 KMJ. Real Estate Radio is a show dedicated to bringing you some rational thought to the crazy world that we live in and really helping you to rebuild the Central Valley's housing and credit markets. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted advice. And that's exactly what you will hear here every Saturday morning at 4 a.m. right here on News Talk 580 KMJ. Thanks for joining us. As always, it is so good to have our special guest host, Michelle Pettis-Cavalli, in the studio with us today. Michelle's a licensed realtor and trusted professional. I trust you.
Really?
Yeah,
do I look trustworthy?
You do.
Trust me, baby. Trust me.
Always great to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm so excited about today's show. Part of the platform with Real Estate Radio Network is to ensure that we bring you information. And I tell you what, today's show is going to be full of really valuable information. We're going to tell you everything that you need to know about buying a HUD home. What is a HUD home? How can you buy one? Who can buy one? Well, we are going to answer those questions and many, many more. Make sure you stay with us. Again, if you have any real estate-related questions or real estate financing-related questions, don't hesitate. We'd love to hear from you. Call us on our off-air number, 800-979-3958. You can also check out our resources online at REOFresnohomes.com. Again, that's REOFresnohomes.com. Now, today we are very proud to integrate into our show format a new feature that we think will help you get the information with one button for the rest of your life. And that is by using Press 4. When you're at your computer, you can always get what you want just by clicking on a link on a web page with your mouse. But what about when you're not in front of a computer? When you're listening to the radio or watching TV, or you want something that they mention? When you're reading a magazine or a newspaper? Getting what you want is a lot harder until you start using Press 4. Well, we call Press 4 the one button for the rest of your life because it's for all those times when you're away from your computer. And now you can get what you want with just one simple push of your mobile phone. Now, what can I get?
I'm like, are we ordering pizza? What are we doing? Because I'm a little hungry.
You can get pizza. What can I get when I use Press 4? Well, although Press 4 is a relatively new tool, its uses are expanding all the time. It can be used for hundreds of useful things. You can use Press 4 to get news, sports, weather updates from your favorite newspaper, TV, and radio stations and then share it with your friends. Or you can use Press 4 to get video clips from your favorite shows. You can use it to cast votes or participate in polls. That's how Austin Hill does it. You can also use Press 4 to order a pizza.
I like it. Hey, are we using this for the election? Next election? You said vote. I just was curious. Press 4 on
First
your
thing
phone.
that pops
4.
If you'd like to vote. 4.
If you'd like to vote for president, please press 4. I like it. Maybe they should try that angle.
There you go. Well, I'm sure the next thing you were wanting to ask is, how much does Press 4 cost? Well, Press 4 is free, but keep in mind your cell phone carrier charges do apply. Next question, how do you get Press 4? If you have an iPhone or Android, just go to your app store to get Press 4, and if you don't own an iPhone or Android, Press 4 will still work for you. Just go to the Press 4 website at press4.com, that's P-R-E-S-S, the number 4.com, and follow the easy setup instructions. Press 4 will work on any phone, iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, Windows Phone, and even those that are not
the dumb phones
that are not so smartphones.
Hey, I just want you to know I loaded Press 4 today in excitement for this.
How's it feel?
It feels good. I'm just not really sure what to do with it
Do
now.
you know how to? Yeah, I was just going to say. Next step.
I pressed it. Now it gives me a bigger 4.
Well, the Press 4 on your screen is for the for those folks that have a hard time seeing, because it is a big.
It is a big
orange
4. An orange 4.
4 with a big 4.
It looks like a pool ball.
Like a pool ball?
Like a pool ball. Like
Gotcha.
Number 4, you know.
Awesome.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, starting today, you will hear us use Press 4 every week to help keep you in the know, as well as pass on all sorts of valuable information to you. During our show, you're going to hear us say things like, to call into the show, just use Press 4 keyword KMJ, call Craig. And in this example, your phone will call our off-air number. One button can do it all. Or just say, press for keyword KMJ HUD Homes. And in that example, we'll send you more information about HUD Homes right to your phone.
Nice.
So today, a big welcome to Press 4 to our show. Well, last week I want to do a show follow-up. I so appreciate the calls that we get from our listeners. Well, we received a call from one of our listeners after this past weekend show, and he brought up an important fact that I thought extremely important to share with you. Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
On last week's show, we talked about some of the important events that led up to the housing run-up, and we also covered the documentary The Inside Job by Charles Ferguson, which won an Academy Award back in 2010, and it focuses on the direct and sometimes disturbing correlation between the federal government, Wall Street, and academia. You know, it was really interesting, kind of a real quick side note.
Yeah.
I was watching, oh my gosh, it was one of the ABC News shows over the weekend.
Uh-huh.
And the president of the Harvard Business School
Was being interviewed again.
He's now Mitt Romney's chief economic advisor.
See, that's what they do. They go from academia to government, back to the banking system, and then back around
they just get
rounds again.
Floated around.
So
like
interesting,
a cheap
isn't
date
it?
At the prom, huh?
I wonder if Mitt's seen the movie. Maybe we should send him a copy.
I would imagine he probably has.
Yeah, I'm thinking they all have.
Yeah. Well, we talked about the direct correlation there. Well, the listener that called in brought up an extremely, extremely important fact, and that was it was an act that was enacted in June of 1933, and it's called the Glass-Steagall Act. And it was a law that established the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. And
do we all remember why that happened? The FDIC was established so we didn't have runs on the banks.
Exactly. Well, it was established also and introduced banking reforms, some of which were designed to control speculation. So it helped to prop up consumer confidence, prevent runs on the bank, and also to control folks so they couldn't put the banks, regulate folks so they couldn't put the banks out of business. Well,
because in essence, the banks were lending the depositors money.
Certainly.
That was the issue, correct? Okay.
Certainly.
Just want to make sure I'm on the same page.
The repeal, eventually, Glass-Steagall was repealed, and the repeal of the provisions of Glass-Steagall was by a certain act called Gramm-Leach-Bliley in 1999, which effectively removed the separation that previously existed between investment banking, which issued the securities, and commercial banks, which accepted deposits. Now, this deregulation also removed the conflict of interest. Anytime I hear that term,
it's always make you nervous, doesn't it?
The hair on the back of my neck, well, if I had hair on the back of my neck, it would stand up. But it removed the conflicts of interest prohibitions between investment bankers serving as officers of commercial banks. Anybody in a position at a bank that has the ability to say, all the potential conflicts of interest have been removed from this equation. I'm free to do, gentlemen, whatever I need to do to make money for our depositors. This repeal directly contributed to the severity of the financial crisis from 2007 to 2011. Many of you are still living amidst the financial crisis by allowing Wall Street investment banking firms to use their depositors' monies that was held in those commercial banks.
Yep.
Well, we appreciate your
Thank
call
you for the
in.
call.
Yeah, definitely.
That was actually interesting. Very good.
Exactly. If you'd like to know more information about Glass-Steagall, just press forward and say keyword KMJ Glass-Steagall, and we will send you directly to get some more information regarding Glass-Steagall Act. Just a contact reminder, if you have any real estate or real estate financing related questions regarding the information that we cover here on the show, we'd love to hear from you. You can also check out our resources online, REOFresnohomes.com, or call us on our off-air number, 800-979-3958, or just use press 4, keyword KMJ, call Craig, to call into the show. Well, today's topic, we are going to cover What is a HUD home? And we have a local real estate professional here, Sal Hernandez. Sal is what we call, we're happy to have a licensed realtor with Valley-Wide Homes here in Fresno, and Sal is also, so I'm fumbling all over my words, and I know Sal extremely well.
He's in awe of you, Sal.
Good morning, everyone.
Let me try that. Let me try that over. Sal Hernandez is a licensed realtor with Valley-Wide Homes here in Fresno, and is also a HUD Homes specialist. Sal, thanks for taking the time to get up so early to hang out with us.
Thank you for having me here.
Now, so one of the first things, and Michelle asked me this.
No, okay. The question is, what's a HUD home in comparison to a regular bank-owned property? What's the difference?
Well, let me.
Well, I mean, just to go off that, one of the biggest differences to me, it's a house that's easy to buy instead of putting up with the banks and having to jump through hoops and submit a bunch of offers and get countered. Well, you get to write one offer and get a 24-hour response in most of these properties. So it's something that's easy to buy, and then there's a tremendous savings on these homes.
Wow, enough said.
Sign me up.
Sign me up. You know, it's funny because we were talking before the show, and Michelle and I were talking before the show, and I said I have to be really honest. Is when I first got into the industry, I thought when I heard of FHA loans, because a HUD home, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, is the folks that bought the home, the financing on that property was an FHA loan that they acquired the property with, and I didn't understand all the mechanism. I didn't understand, and I went and I did some research and got a real comprehensive, what I think a pretty comprehensive definition as far as what is a HUD home. But I'm just going to say this: when I first got into the business, I didn't realize that. I thought HUD or FHA made loans. I didn't realize that that's totally not it. Now, granted, that was many years ago when I got into the business, but FHA actually just insures the loans. FHA was brought into existence some 80 years ago to help encourage home ownership. So you didn't have to put 20% down. You'd come in with less money. And a way to also let the banks know that in the event that you make this loan, we will insure it. As long as you follow our guidelines, we'll insure it. And in the event that you have to take the property back through judicial foreclosure, you can file a claim with us and we'll make you whole. We'll pay that claim. So what I'd like to do is just read here real quickly. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, you've probably heard the term, as originally created under the Housing and Urban Development Act of 1965, is not a lender, but a cabinet-level agency with its secretary serving as a presidential appointee. Sean Donovan, who was appointed, is the current acting head of HUD, I believe. In reality, HUD is the administrative agency that oversees and is responsible for a number of federal housing agencies and programs, including the Federal Housing Administration, or FHA, which insures home loans. There is nothing extraordinary about HUD Homes other than the fact that the mortgage used to purchase it was insured by the Federal Housing Administration, or FHA. Whether it was a single-family residence, a condo or condominium, or a townhome, the specifics of the room count, parking amenities, etc., none of it matters. What does matter, however, is the price of the home, that it fits within the guidelines to qualify for the FHA insurance program, which is county limits. Every county nationally has a limit, and all purchase price or loan amounts must fall below those county limits, and that the lender you use is approved to offer FHA insured loans. It is, in fact, these homes, ones that are originally purchased using an FHA insured loan, that become what can be referred to as HUD homes when the borrower defaults, unfortunately, on the original loan. Since the FHA has guaranteed the loan on behalf of the federal government, when the foreclosure process is completed, FHA pays off the lender of record. So let's say it's Bank of America, and instead of the property going back to the lender as in a normal foreclosure situation, it goes back to its owner, which in this case is HUD, as the responsible party for all FHA insured loans. Like the lender, HUD doesn't want they don't want to own their own real estate portfolio. But I will say, and Sal, you can speak to this specifically, they are very efficient once they take the property back in terms of once they've taken it back from that original lender. They're extremely efficient. They have got it down to a fine science. There is no long drawn-out process as far as inspecting this property and then bringing it to market. It is fairly swift. Part of the agency's responsibilities lie in promoting affordable home ownership and equal opportunity for all the citizens to own their share of the American dream. So just as the financial institutions do when properties come back to them as real estate owned, or you've heard the term REOs, the agency has real estate professionals represent their interest in selling HUD foreclosures to the public through an established contractual process. Finding HUD homes to purchase is not difficult to do. All you have to do is have Sal's number. HUD sells foreclosed homes, also known as HUD Homes, all over the country through approved brokers called local listing brokers. Now, that's where Sal comes in. Correct, Sal?
That's it. You know, in order to buy one of these homes, you got to give us a call, and we can walk you through the process. You know, Craig touched on topics of REOs. When you start looking at the REOs and HUD homes, you start saying, well, what's the difference between the two? You know, why should I buy a HUD home? Well, I mean, we'll touch on some of the benefits. We'll go through the process. And, I mean, some of the major benefits, you know, HUD set it up for owner-occupants. They pay 3% of your closing costs. I mean, so what better thing do you want? You know, you're going to buy your first home, get paid 3% closing costs. They pay your escrow fees. So what does that mean to you? When you're looking to buy a home, most REO properties, you're buying traditional sales, you're going to have to pay $600 to $900 just for your escrow. On HUD homes, they cover that for you. So they help you get into the house. It comes out cheaper to buy HUD homes. Appraisals are paid by HUD. That's going to save you another $400. Good faith deposits. You're coming in with a $1,000 good faith deposit compared to $1,500, $2,000 on some of these homes. What else here? They're all priced according to FHA value. We touched on appraisals. Appraisals, they come in according to market value.
Well, let me ask you something.
Yes.
Saul, on that note, I know that years ago, a good friend of mine said his parents had purchased this house back in the late 60s, early 70s. It was a HUD home. The doors were kicked in. They had holes in the walls, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The public's perception of a HUD home is that is a heck of a deal in and of itself, outside of those items you just listed. Is that true? Or when you mention appraisal value, I mean, are they appraising the properties just like a bank does when they list a property, or are they priced lower and more affordable because some of them are damaged? Tell me a little more about that.
Most of these homes, I mean, when you start looking at the inside of the homes, you find REO homes, you hear the stories. You know, there's cement down the drain, there's doors are kicked in, and so forth. With HUD homes, you don't have to worry about a lot of that. A lot of these homes, they have an inspection done on them, and they're telling you on these inspections. The inspector goes in, determines what's wrong with the property, and according to the condition of the property, they tell you, is it going to be federally insured? Is it going to pass an FHA loan? One of the things in an FHA loan, we touched on it a little, these properties are properties that have been on a foreclosed property that's been a federally insured loan. There's strict guidelines on that, on the condition of the property. You have to be able to occupy the property. It has to be livable. And so when you're doing these inspections, they determine that, hey, this house is in a condition to live in. If it has minor repairs, there's still a way of getting into it. These homes are great values. Most of these homes are in great condition. You don't have to worry about kicked-in doors or things like that.
Okay.
Sal, just to kind of back up just a little bit. So other than contacting you when it comes time for, hey, Sal, I'd like to get more information about purchasing a HUD home. I'd like you to help me. What's the very first thing that a buyer needs to do first?
Okay. Before we start the buying process with any home, including a HUD home, one of the very first things we need to do is we always have to get pre-qualified. So you have to contact your local lender. Many lenders will do the HUD. It's just a straightforward FHA loan or conventional financing. The main thing, though, is getting pre-approved. Go through your pre-approval process. Once you start looking at a HUD home, make sure the lender you're working with knows what they're doing and when they're working with HUD Homes. There's benefits out there, like I was saying, the closing costs, escrow fees, appraisals paid for. If you're using the lender, if they're knowledgeable of the HUD process, it's going to save you some money overall. So in essence,
and probably a whole lot of stress.
and a lot of stress. These deals are pretty straightforward. You don't have to be going back and forth with the bank, or you don't have to be going back and forth with the traditional owner that's selling their home. It's pretty much black and white. You just submit an offer. If it's within a certain price range, if it's an acceptable price range, you get the property, do your inspections, get your loan completed, and you're done. You close the deal, and you're into a house.
So getting a pre-qualification, just like with any real estate transaction, is first and foremost the most important thing. It gives the client the ability to be able to shop with confidence. Quick side story. Back in, oh my gosh, when we originally opened Valleywide up back in 1997, it seemed like so many agents were so eager to throw people
in the car.
Yeah. And then I would get phone calls on Sunday afternoon or Monday morning saying, hey, we submitted an offer on these clients. I need you to get them pre-approved now.
Yeah,
wrong. Back the bus up.
You want to know what you're pre-approved for. You don't, I mean, just with any. You don't want to be out there looking at homes that are going to be priced out of your range.
Because there is a correlation between
purchase
price and your monthly payment.
When I look at $1 million home and I compare it to a $100,000, I fall in love with that $1 million home. Unfortunately,
yeah. What is it? Champagne dreams on a beer budget.
Yeah.
That's so true. I mean, the worst thing is for a client to fall in love with something they so can't
afford, they so can't have. They love the house, but they really don't like the payment. So setting that getting pre-approved, number one, so you know that you can pull through.
Yes.
But then also setting the expectation in terms of here's the amount of cash that you're going to need out of pocket as far as your down payment's concerned.
With the HUD home, I mean, it's even more important to get the pre-approval because once you're looking at these homes and you start writing up the offers, you're competing against other people that are going in there with cash. And so, I mean, one of the things is I might have used competing the wrong word because you're right up there. You can submit an offer, FHA financing for $100,000, and there's somebody else that's coming in with $100,000 cash. It's not like any other traditional seller. They're going to be looking at the financing. You're on the same page. You're on the same level. So financing is extremely important.
Plus, don't you also find that those folks that are coming to table that have cash are typically investors?
Yes.
Investors are not owner-occupants are given priority as far as HUD homes are concerned. And most investors that come to the table and are looking to place an offer, don't you find that more often than not you get the question, well, if it's all cash, you use, say, a $100,000 purchase price as an example, you've got someone submitting an offer, a home buyer, owner-occupant, first-time home buyer. The sales price is $100,000. They ask for a 3% seller concession, and then you have someone else coming in, typically an investor, that puts an offer in, let's say, for $85,000 because they say, well, I've got cash. Does that?
Yeah, when you're looking at it, the investors right now, you start looking, okay, investors are going to come in bidding lower because it's cash. The crazy part about it right now is our inventory, when you start looking at it in our market area, it's pretty good inventory overall for buyers. And there's not enough houses that are out there that are in a good condition is going to qualify for loans. So when you start looking at these homes, some of these investors also want these homes. And somebody might think, okay, I'm going to go in there with financing. I'm going to bid this. Well, there's an investor. Price, we'll give, for example, a couple months ago we had a beautiful home in Clovis. It was a HUD home, great condition. It was the only home in that area. We were priced a little bit under $230,000, and every investor wanted that home. They were willing to pay $250,000 cash for that home. But because we had the owner occupancy period, all HUD homes that are insured financing, whether it be insured with escrow or just simply insured with no escrow account, you have a 30-day owner occupancy period for all these homes, meaning all these investors that wanted to buy that home that were coming in saying, hey, we'll pay cash $250,000. Well, HUD strives to sell to owner occupants. You had an owner occupant that was able to finance their purchase, and not have to compete against investors and buy the house for $230,000 instead of having to overbid and compete against these investors that are out there, and they're going to turn around and turn this into a rental.
Not having to compete against investors
Yes.
is huge for an owner-occupant, first-time home buyer. It's much like taking a swim in a pond with a lot of sharks.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a negative way, because
No.
there's a lot, it can be quite daunting and seem super overwhelming if you think, oh my gosh, here, me and my wife, and we're out and we're going to buy our first home, and you're thinking, well, there's a long line to the curve, and some of these folks are investors and they have cash, and it's a little overwhelming. But so what you're saying, Sal, is have confidence. First 30 days, you're just going to compete with other owner-occupants for that particular property, and it's not until after that 30-day period that the investors then can actually have their bid considered.
Exactly. On insured sales, investors have to wait till the 31st day before they can bid on it, which gives the owner-occupants priority, which HUD strives for owner-occupants to be purchasing these homes initially. Once that period is over and an owner-occupant hasn't taken that advantage, you have a line of investors just waiting to buy up these properties because, again, they're priced at an FHA value, market value, which is sometimes cheaper than the people that are out there flipping the houses, pricing them $10,000, $20,000 above market because of they've done these repairs to them, and so you get into a HUD house that's in great condition for market value, and you get your closing costs paid, and so as an owner-occupant, you have a lot of advantages, and there's a lot of benefits.
So tell me, Saul, I know that Craig mentioned HUD approved agents. Tell me a little bit about how you become an approved agent with HUD, because it sounds like there's some knowledge there that not just every agent in town has.
Yes, as when you're working with a lender, you have to work with somebody that has the knowledge on selling these homes. Same thing for HUD Homes. As a seller, as a selling agent, you have to be working with somebody who has the knowledge, somebody that's an approved agent to sell homes. One of the most important things that they go through is, the broker of record for every company has to submit their application to HUD to get approved to sell HUD homes. Once you go through that process and they learn the steps on selling these HUD homes, they get a NAID number, which in essence is used by that office, by that company. Each
it's
agent,
like a credentialing.
it's
of
a
the
credentialing.
Office.
Every agent within that office can request to sell HUD homes under their broker's NAID number,
I see.
which in turn helps them sell the homes. And again, it's very important to choose an agent that understands the process, understands the guidelines, because if you do that, it's you follow through and you're able to have a smooth transaction instead of running into a bunch of roadblocks.
It can either be smooth or there can be some pitfalls
Yes.
if you're not dealing with someone experienced in the process.
Yes.
Gotcha. Now, so being an approved broker, or working for someone that is an approved broker, is once your broker is approved to be able to sell HUD homes, can anyone sell HUD homes?
Yes, anybody within that office can sell HUD homes once your broker is approved.
Okay.
They ultimately fall under the same NAID number as your broker. They do have to be a licensed real estate agent, and they have to be in good standing. Once they're able to, after that, they register on a HUDHomestore.com and follow the process and look up for the HUD homes. All HUD homes are listed on the HUDHomestore.com website, and it's your nationwide MLS system. It displays any state within California, with any state within the United States.
Any state within California? How many do we have here?
Any state within the United States.
How long have they had that website, Sal?
They've had it, I believe, now for about a year, a little bit under a year. It's been online.
So it's a nationwide resource for any HUD property that is available. If it's on there, it's available.
If it's on the website, it's available. So as a consumer, it gives you the option of being able to go on there and say, okay, well, what's available in my area? Go to the website, pick your state, pick your county or your city, and you're able to go into it and say, okay, what's currently available? If it's on the website, you can submit an offer through a local real estate agent that has a NAID number.
Go ahead.
Well, I know that you mentioned owner-occupants have priority over investors,
Yes.
but I also know there's some stipulations there. Is it tax returns? What exactly causes a person to be an owner-occupant versus a non-owner-occupant? Because I know FHA has some guidelines where you can have a non-owner occupant be a co-borrower. So tell me more. Just what does HUD consider as an owner occupant?
Okay, an owner occupant with HUD is anybody who has not purchased a primary residence within the last 12 months, or has not purchased a HUD property as an owner occupied within the last 24 months.
So 12 months.
12 months as
primary residence. 24 months HUD home.
HUD home.
Okay.
So in essence,
okay.
you can't buy a HUD home. You can buy a HUD home as an owner occupant today. 13 months from now, you can't turn around and buy another HUD home as an owner occupant. You have to wait till the 25th month, after 24 months.
Okay.
And what that does, it keeps it fair for everyone. It also keeps, like I said, HUD wants to sell to owner occupants, and that's the goal.
Okay.
So what they try to do is they say, okay, we don't want someone that's going to be coming in every 13 months and saying, hey, I'm going to buy a home as an owner occupant. Okay, so they extend it a little bit.
They have a
longer.
hard time making the story make sense. Well, I just bought a home 13 months ago, and it was my primary residence, and now I'd like a new primary residence, please.
Across the street. Oh, funny.
Yeah,
we
these
hear
homes
those kinds of stories.
These homes are great value, so people start thinking, hey, let me buy a home now. I'm going to turn around and sell it in 13 months, buy me another HUD home because it's such a great price.
Hey, guys, more than anything, seriously, how much does, quote unquote, what Sal just said, the great value, does that influence the consumer in terms of, what did we talk on our last show? We thought, so many folks thought that they were going to get left behind in the housing run-up. Now, when you hear that there's a great deal, and I joke, I say this facetiously, when you hear that there's a phenomenal deal on toilet paper down at Target, and it's cheaper at Target than anywhere in the city, and we all need toilet paper, okay? What kind of sense of urgency does that create? What kind of response have you seen, Sal, in terms of folks purchasing HUD homes? How long does your inventory stay around?
You know, most of our inventory is sold under 30 days. When we start, like saying, a lot
How does
of
that
these
mean?
houses,
Goes into contract
it
within
goes
30
into
days?
contract. And most of our inventory between a property has to be on the market for 10 days. On the 11th day is when property bids are opened. Every bid is opened at the same time.
So do you open it in your office?
No, we don't open it in our office. That's one of the great things about it. Every bid is submitted electronically. So in essence, it's the fairest system out there. There is no room for saying, hey, I like this person better, or
or I wonder if my bid was ever submitted.
I wonder, yeah, exactly. I wonder if my bid was ever submitted. Everything is done electronically.
Or that agent doesn't like me, and therefore I don't, or doesn't like my agent.
Yeah, so they didn't review my offer.
And so that's also one of the things that, it doesn't mean you necessarily have to work with the listing agent. Okay, that by working with the listing agent, you're not going to gain any preference on, if your offer is going to be higher than everybody. It's just going down, submitting your best offer right offhand. You do have one opportunity, so it's your best offer from the get-go.
And I think that's important to touch on what you just said right there. You can work with the listing agent if you so choose. If you don't, you can choose any HUD-approved, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Any HUD-approved agent that is able to go onto the website, submit the offer for you. But you've got one shot at it.
You do have
so if
one
you're
shot
within
at
the first 10 days, before they open bids on the 11th day, you've got one shot at this process. So there is no, like with, for our listeners, the Fannie Mae process. If it's a Fannie Mae-owned home, you submit offers, and then at some point you start getting multiple offer notification and highest and best. And it's funny because consumers go, so when do we get the highest and best? It's just like they're trained.
And here's the thing, on a lot of these other offers that people are submitting, I mean, you could already be the highest and best. But because there's so much competition out there, these banks are countering everybody, and they're saying, hey, submit your highest and best. And you're sitting here thinking, wow, I was already $1,000 or $2,000 over. How much higher do they want me to go? With HUD, you don't have to worry about anything. You submit your offer from the get-go, submit your best offer, and most of the time you get a 24-hour response, provided the property's past the initial bid process.
So
period.
after the 10 days, on the 11th day, all bids are opened, like you had said, at the
business day.
the same time, as if they're all received at the same time. And then that morning, you'll receive notification?
You'll receive a notice. I say usually by the afternoon you receive a notification stating if you got the house or not. If you didn't, it's because your bid wasn't accepted. If you made a bid too low, or somebody bid $1 higher than you overall. Again, it's the net purchase price.
Okay, so when you say net, let's talk about that, because I know that, I read up offers every day. When we talk about net, let's explain that.
Okay, we're submitting an offer for $200,000 on a home, and you're going to ask for 3% closing costs, which is $6,000.
I didn't have to take my shoes off for that one. I had already. Thank you for using round
even
numbers. Yes.
Yeah.
So that puts down your bid to 190. What is it? 194,000.
194,000.
194,000.
Where are your toes?
Somebody else comes in and bids the exact same 200,000 and says, you know what? I only need $5,999 for closing costs.
Wow.
Okay. When you do
They're
the
also
math
superstitious about numbers as well. That's why
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
they never use a 6, so
they
we round
get
it down by
194
$1.
and a dollar.
$5,999. Okay. So in essence, when you do the math there, they beat you by $1. And that's what these HUD deals come down to. They look at the net number. How much is HUD
So bottom line is, what you're saying is, don't ask for the monies unless you really truly need it. Because
unless you truly need
if
it.
this is the house, if you and your wife are standing at the curb and she says, honey, get me that house, you better have some money in the bank, correct?
Yes.
Because if you don't ask for the seller concession because you want your offer to be more aggressive, and
not only that, it's all, like I said, you have to work with somebody that understands these offers. As I was saying, HUD pays for escrow fees. Okay, when you're writing up a traditional sale, when you're writing up an REO, you're usually splitting those fees with the seller.
What's traditional in our county?
Tradition, yeah, it's usually splitting that fee with the seller. Okay, with HUD, they pay it all. So when you're asking for closing costs on an REO property traditional sale, you're trying to get all that money to be covered. Well, on a HUD property, since they pay for that, you don't need all that closing cost. So cut down your closing cost a bit. That could be the difference between you getting that property
right.
or not,
and
by using somebody that understands the HUD process.
And what you said is, if this is your best offer out the gate, it's important that the agent that you're working with understand, and I know, because you have said this before, if this, you can tell, and I know this because you have said, you can tell if a property is going to be hot, if there's going to be greater competition on a certain property, you can tell. Just based upon experience, that there's going to be greater, the age of the property, the condition of the property, the location of the property. Like you had mentioned, you'd brought up an example earlier. You had a listing that was $230-some thousand, and it was. Talk to us about that one real quick.
When you start looking at these properties, I mean, Michelle, you mentioned earlier that back years ago, you looked at the HUD properties, and people were under the impression, they're in the bad neighborhood, they're beat up, they're in bad condition. Well, now you start looking at these HUD properties, they're FHA loans that have defaulted. When you start looking at our market, a lot of our loans nowadays are starting to be FHA. So when you really start looking at our market, I mean, you're getting houses in great areas. You're getting houses that went to foreclosure. They're in great condition. So overall, I mean, the
location still.
You're getting
Funny how that never
priced
changes.
at an FHA market value, which is a great price. And you can pick them up here, and so the competition's out there.
So talk real quick before we go to the break, Sal. In terms of, you had mentioned there's different property types, and my first question was, so are you talking single story, 2-story, with a pool, without a pool?
There's actually 4 or 5 different types. Main types is an insured property, which HUD has already determined in an FHA appraisal saying that property will go FHA with no repairs.
And every property is appraised prior to it coming to the market.
Every property is appraised.
Okay.
An FHA appraisal is completed on every single property, and that's what determines FHA market value. And first one is IN, which is insured. Next one is IE, which would be insured with escrow. meaning that the property needs a couple of repairs. It might need a carpet. You start looking at these properties out there. Sometimes when you're buying an REO house, you can't get an FHA loan on it because it had the sink was missing. The sink was missing, and that's an FHA required item. The sink was only going to cost you $300. So for $300, you're going to lose this great value out there, great property to an investor. HUD, on the other hand, has said, hey, look, if it's within a certain price range, if it's within a $5,000 price allotment, we'll create this insured with escrow properties so that these properties that are in excellent condition, that it just has a sink that's missing, they'll allow you to finance that sink into your repairs and be able to insure it.
So the appraiser has determined that these are those items that need to be repaired.
Yes.
Now, are the repairs done prior to the close of escrow?
All repairs are done after close of escrow.
Gotcha.
The way it's set up, it's for, if you're using the sink scenario, $350 for the sink. That amount is financed into your deal, and after you close escrow, you do the repairs. The appraiser comes back out, makes sure those repairs are completed, and you move forward with the deal after close of escrow.
Gotcha. So what happens, you had mentioned a $5,000 allotment. So what happens if the amount of the repairs exceed $5,000?
Okay,
What happens in that
instance?
instance?
If the amount of the repair exceeds $5,000, you have two choices. It'll either be listed as uninsured property, but then or it'll be it'll have to go conventional financing, cash, or it can go 203K repair escrow, which is also another type of FHA loan that is used for owner occupants,
Gotcha.
allowing them the opportunity to get into these houses. So that would be
So anything in excess of $5,000, if HUD allows it based upon the appraisal, you can actually make those repairs and maybe even additional repairs in excess of $5,000.
only on a 203K loan.
Gotcha.
Anything that's over $5,000 would be the property is uninsurable, or UK, which is uninsurable with 203K. So that $5,000 price point for repairs, that's what jumps it into the next two categories, which would be the UI, which is an uninsurable sale. It's for anything where the repairs exceed $5,000, or a UK, it's an uninsurable sale that is allowed to do a 203K loan on it.
It's pretty evident because of all the information that we're giving out here today on the air. Extremely important you have somebody like Sal on your side when it comes time for navigating the minefield. And if you do have any real estate related questions or any real estate financing related questions regarding the information that we're covering here on the show today, we would love to hear from you. Check out our resources online, REOFresnoHomes.com, or call us on our off-air number at 800-979-3958. Again, that's 800-979-3958. Or just use press 4 keyword KMJ HUD Homes to have this information sent right to your smartphone. Well, after the break, we're going to continue with our conversation about successfully selling HUD Homes and some great secret tips from Sal Hernandez, our HUD Home expert, that you won't want to leave home without. You are listening to the Real Estate Radio Network here on News Talk 580 KMJ.
Brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD Homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
All it takes is one call to the professionals at Valleywide Homes, and you'll start building wealth in real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing investment property, let the experts at Valleywide Homes help. There's never been a better time to get into the real estate market. Visit our website at REOFresnoHomes.com or call toll-free 800-979-3958. That's 800-979-3958. And put the seasoned professionals of Valleywide Homes to work for you.
listening to Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
We're back. Thank you so much for joining us again this morning. We have a local HUD Home expert, Sal Hernandez, here in the studio with us. And as always, Michelle Pettis-Cavalli, right by my side.
I'm ready to press forward, by the way.
You ready to press forward?
I just want to make that clear. Press
And what keyword is the question?
KMJ.
Call Craig.
Call Craig.
Yeah. Call us.
You're on speed dial with me already. I might have to cancel that. Okay.
Sal, you talked about, before we went to break, you talked about a number of different property types.
Yeah.
And we also talked about the importance of making sure that you utilize an experienced HUD Home expert. Now, when you talk about condition, and you also said earlier that every transaction closes with the property in its current condition. Let's talk about condition. In every single real estate transaction, I know that we're taught, for your protection, get a home inspection. Sounds like I just read it right off the disclosure.
Well, they say that for agents. For our protection, recommend a home inspection. I mean, regardless. New construction, recommend a home inspection.
How important is it with a HUD Home, even if they're sold as is, that you get a home inspection?
It's very important to do a home inspection. You touched right on the money that every HUD Home is sold as is. There is no repairs that can be done prior to close. The condition of the house, when you look at it, is the same condition as it's going to be when it closes escrow.
Now, can you, all right. Now, can I insure this with a home warranty like I would any other property?
You sure can.
Okay,
you
that
can
makes
buy
sense.
a home warranty for it. But most important thing is, as with anything else, just like when you're buying a used car, you want to get a mechanic to look at it.
We don't want the lemon house.
Exactly.
Here it is. It doesn't matter if the house is 3 months old or 40 years old. You still want to get a home inspection. So you have the right. You hire with the assistance of your real estate agent. You go and you hire the home inspector to go take a look at it. He goes through, looks at the entire property, recommends any repairs. Again, this is for your
And how long do
safety.
they have to get the actual home inspection completed?
15 days to do your home inspections and determine if this purchase is right for you or not.
So it's less than the normal traditional 17 that we have.
It is less, but when you start comparing it to REO properties and banks, most banks out there give you 5 to 7 days inspection.
I've seen that so much.
Really?
They counter back and say you've got 5-7 days for inspections.
And talk about being able to
talk about
everything.
being under the gun.
With HUD, they give you 15 days to be able to do all your inspections. If you find something.
And that doesn't change. That can't change. The 15 days is what it is. That's part of the HUD Home process.
So what that does for you is you start looking at, I said at the beginning that they do inspections, okay? They do an inspection, a property condition report on the property. If you find something that's different from the property condition report they supplied, then you have the right to back out of that deal, get your $1,000 or $500 good faith deposit back, and move forward. So again, it's for your safety, and also, if you find things that are wrong with the house, it gives you some insight and say, okay, this is how much it's going to cost me to do these minor repairs.
Well, that brings me to a second question. I know a lot of houses that you see out there, if they're not pending, they may be backup. So is that where a backup offer would come in?
The backup offers, the way it works on backup offers is everybody submits the offers at the same time. Okay, all bids are looked at equally, same time, regardless of when they were submitted, provided they were all within the bid deadlines. Okay, if the person that got the original offer was $1,000 higher than the second offer, that second offer, if you elect to keep it as a backup offer, automatically stays in there as a backup offer.
Your agent has to know
your agent has to know how to fill out these contracts. I just had one. We bid the list price, and somebody outbid me by $500. My buyer was, disappointed because we didn't get the property, but lo and behold, a week later, that person couldn't complete the contract properly. They forgot to do something.
Check a box.
They forgot to check a box or do something because they weren't using an agent that
or just flat out
knew
send
the
their contract
contracts.
in, right?
And we stood in their backup offer, and we got the property. So my buyer is now excited, and we're in contract.
Nice.
So that's the way backup offers work.
Pays you, Sal.
Yes.
Right?
I agree.
Sure does.
Save
Totally.
$500 on that sale.
Now, Sal, again, you said, okay, property sold as is, can't do anything prior to the close of escrow. After the close of escrow, repairs are completed. Now, when you say can't do anything, the buyer cannot.
The buyer cannot move into the property. The buyer can't occupy the property in any way with personal belongings, can't park your car in front of it, can't do repairs. You pretty much
So my contractor
take any
buddy
time
who's
possession.
buying the house better just
Yeah.
keep his truck out of the driveway.
Sounds
Is
pretty
that what you're
obvious.
saying?
It sounds pretty obvious, but we've all heard
yeah,
stories.
we've heard stories.
Right?
Yes,
Right.
and so you can't get
I mean,
the keys or do
it's a
anything
real
until it
education.
records.
I mean, you're really educating that buyer through the process
Yes.
to make sure they understand the
and,
rules.
And it's the same as with any other purchase. These guidelines apply. But
right.
Sal, touch real quick. We're slowly but surely running out of time here. Talk about overbidding again,
Okay.
real quickly. You talked about it.
Overbidding. Every property has an FHA appraisal. If you are using an FHA as your loan, the market value for that appraisal is already set. So if you bid over it, your lender, because they're going to use that appraisal, cannot lend you more than the appraised value of the property. So if you bid $1,000 over the FHA appraised value and you're using an FHA loan, you have to come in with that extra $1,000. Okay, that also keeps when owner occupants, that keeps these properties from somebody coming in and bidding $20,000 over just
Sure.
because
Right.
to get the property.
Do you see
don't.
many agents that come in and overbid?
You see inexperienced
then,
agents come in and overbid $20,000 because they think they're going to get the property.
And then the client can't finance.
The client can't finance that extra
Gotcha.
$20,000.
Yeah.
So that's very crucial.
Well, it's disappointing for the buyer.
Only
Gosh, how
overbid.
frustrating.
they went highest and best.
Yeah, they did
It just-
highest and best,
It was
that's
just
for
way
sure.
high,
Right,
way
right.
over. Alrighty, let's do this. Let's take a break real quick. After the break, we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit about why it's so important to buy HUD homes. What's the trend? We'll see you back on the other side of the break.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
Mortgage interest rates are at historic lows, and there's never been a more affordable time to buy real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing property, let the mortgage professionals at Valleywide help. Valleywide Homes has been helping homeowners with their mortgage needs since 1997. When it comes to the Valley's real estate, we know our way around the neighborhood. Call toll-free, 800-979-3958, and put the seasoned professionals at Valleywide Homes to work for you. Valleywide Homes, NMLS number 342062, 235-952, California Department of Real Estate License 01228460.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
We're back in the studio with Sal Hernandez, local listing broker for HUD Homes. We did a little research here because we wanted to make sure that we did pass along to you, our listeners, why it's so important to pay attention. We hope that we're bringing you great, solid information, but here's another fact that I think is extremely important. Why is it so important to pay attention to HUD Homes? Well, back on Tuesday, November 16th, 2010, the Department of Housing and Urban Development released its annual report on FHA issues to Congress. Among other things, the report stated that FHA loans accounted for, now this is nationally, a national statistic, for nearly 40% of all purchase mortgages for the period of November 2009 to November 2010. This was, if you'd like to look this up online, HUD press release number 10-252. It said basically by this time next year, which would have been 2011, FHA loans could easily account for more than 50% of all purchase mortgages. Consumer outreach is already pointing towards this type of usage spike. Time will tell. Well, if you'd like, so really what that's telling me is, and I think it's locally here in the Valley, more folks are utilizing FHA financing, which means that down the road you will see more HUD homes hitting the market.
Right.
If you'd like more information about the information that we've shared with you today, use the press 4 keyword
KMJ, call Craig.
or KMJ HUD Homes. Sal, a special thank you to Sal Hernandez, our resident HUD Home expert. Sal, thanks for taking some time to get up so early and sharing all of your expertise.
Thank you for having me here.
If you'd like to get in contact with Sal, all you need to do is contact our off-air number, 800-979-3958, and we'll put you in contact with Sal, or just press 4 keyword KMJ, call Craig to connect to our off-air number. Now, don't forget to tune in to the Real Estate Radio Networks next Saturday at 4 a.m. on News Talk 580 KMJ. A big thank you to Michelle Pettis-Cavalli.
Anytime, Craig, anytime.
Will you keep coming back?
Yeah. Press 4. Call
Michelle.
KMJ, call Craig. I
And-
love it. I'll
and
be here.
Press 4. Michelle will come back. If
That's
you have
it.
any real estate related questions, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Again, check out our call us our off-air number, 800-979-3958, or check out our resources online at REOFresnohomes.com. Make it a great day, Central Valley, and we'll see you next week.